In a world where good storytelling and writing is becoming harder and harder to find, where respect for the storytellers that came before is completely absent, and originality is rarer than gold, one man has taken to this platform to stand in the gap. StoryMan Jack is a writer and storyteller who presents his tales in audio format here on YouTube. I want you to meet him, learn about his alternative to the storytelling we are getting from the modern entertainment industry, and ask you to subscribe to him and all the things and welcome him into the community. Then top off your glasses, tell me what you're sipping on in the chat, and get comfortable. The Canarble Wagon rolls out right now.
Quality is our legacy. Handcrafted, barrel-aged. Go ahead, you deserve it. Glenn Gooley, for the best of times.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Good to see y'all, and Solancha, because happy St. Patrick's Day weekend. Yeah, and of course, most of my regulars know that Glenn Gooley. That's a joke for those of you that are Archer fans. Glenn Gooley is a fake whiskey. I'm actually drinking Jameson's Irish whiskey because it is a St. Patrick's Day weekend, but not a sponsored spot. You know, this is not a monetized channel. I'm not sponsored at all, but I am a little bit lit because that is Friday night last call. First, let me bring in my my buddy Aged Boomer, my designated driver, who's going to get me home safely and soberly. And what are you sipping on tonight, Aged Boomer?
I got a mug root beer in a frosty cold can.
There you go. That sounds good. That sounds good.
No, I got to work in the morning. That's why.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I understand. And you're a lightweight when it comes to the alcohol too. So you got to be careful. Am I wrong? Come on.
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know because you don't do it very often. You're a lightweight, dude. and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I respect the hell out of that. I'm not so much a lightweight so much as Netter says I'm a cheap date, because one or two drinks and I'm pretty blotto, and some of our regulars find that quite humorous. As a matter of fact, speaking of Netter, what you sipping on?
I'm drinking Michigan on the Rocks.
It's not Michigan on the Rocks. It's bottled stuff. That's from somewhere up in Michigan or some crap like that.
Yeah.
You're drinking water. I dig it. I dig it. Fair enough. But let's not keep our guest waiting. This is why normally I'm perfectly on time, but I was having a great little conversation with our guest behind the scenes, and I think you're gonna like him too. So let's get him in here. StoryMan Jack, how you doing, my friend? And what are you sipping on?
I've got a glass of Tullamore.
There you go. And you were telling me back in the green room, you got the Irish heritage. You literally can lay claim to that. Am I right?
Like 85%, and what's not is some Scot snuck in there somewhere.
Well, you got all that Gaelic going on. I get you. But Texas born and bred. Am I right?
Yep, 7th generation.
Good man. Good to hear that. Yeah. So that's what we were chatting about in the back, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to jump in on the name StoryMan Jack, get into what you do here. But man, you've got a great background and a great history. I was just really enjoying our time hanging out. So let's do the 30-foot overview, Jack. Where are you from? How and when and why did you get started in this whole YouTube thing?
Well, I'm from North Texas, and I grew up in the very rural parts of Texas, and then into Oklahoma and back in Texas. So on that Texas-Oklahoma border, that's where I've been all my life. And
Well, let me ask you this: if you were right there on the Oklahoma border, there, let me ask, because I've always wanted to know: does the wind really come sweeping down the plain?
Yes, it does.
I just had to ask.
Especially when it's cold.
Oh,
There's a saying around here that
what constitutes cold for you Southerners?
Anything below 45.
Okay, I can agree with that. Even as a northerner, that's pretty chilly. Yeah.
For me, it's worse. I used to weigh a lot more than I do now, so
when you lose weight, you get cold fast. Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah. So
my followers know over the past 5-6 years, I dropped about 100 pounds, and you notice that. There's no doubt about that.
So when I was 3 years old, believe about to turn 3.
No,
about to turn 4. My parents took me to see a movie at the drive-in in Plano, Texas. The first movie I ever saw in my life. We had a black and white TV at home. They had to borrow my mom's cousin's car to get us there because Dad only had a motorcycle.
Oh, okay.
And it was Star Wars.
Oh my man. Okay.
Oh.
And I browbeat them all the way home and for a week to teach me how to read. Because I wanted those stories. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Because I asked, apparently I asked how they did that and where it came from, and they told me about stories and all this stuff. So I wanted to learn how to read. About a week later, a traveling salesman comes by and sells my dad. It was called the Big Golden Book of Bible Stories. It was about.
I know the book. Yes.
To a little kid, it was like Bible sized, and it was a big book. And they taught me how to read with that. So I was reading at a 3rd grade level when I entered kindergarten.
Oh man, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised that there isn't more early training in reading for kids, because at that young an age, you are a sponge. You can pick up languages. You can learn things so well, and I think we're missing out on teaching kids at a younger age. But
yeah, I mean, I had a choice. I could have went the science route, or I could have went the creativity route, right? So when I was in high school, I got accepted to the Oklahoma Academy of Math and Science.
Ooh, nice.
Which meant I got to, as a freshman, go to college. But it was super expensive, and we lived in a house that didn't even have a floor in it. My dad had to put one in it. So it was like, at the time, it was like $30,000 a year.
Ouch.
Yeah. So
yeah. That's a lot even now.
I'd always been. My dad bought me my first typewriter. It was a manual, and I learned how to.
I remember them. Look. So all the kids in chat here, you're used to computers, but check out some old movies and check out those typewriters, and you hear click, 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 click. That's how we learned how to type. So when we got to these electronic keyboards, this was nothing, because we had to hit those keys.
So when I have a mechanical keyboard, I cannot type on a chiclet keyboard at all.
Yeah.
On my mechanical keyboard, I've been.
Wait, in between, did you ever try those IBM electric keyboards that had the round head?
Yeah.
Those things scared the heck out of me, because it was like they were so sensitive. It was like, it's like and I put 5 R's on the
the electric
page.
typewriter.
Yeah.
Okay.
It took me a long time to get used to that, though. And then, not only that, but they had these. It wasn't whiteout. It was this.
It was tape.
It was a correction tape that literally
you slid
removed the ink from the page somehow. I don't really know how it worked.
You slid it in. You slid it into the ribbon, You rolled it back to where the letter you typed incorrectly lined up. You retyped the letter, and then instead of the ink going on the page, the whiteout went on the page.
Well, that was one of the options. It was a dry whiteout. But no, there was some IBMs that had a second strip where you could back up and type over it, and it removed the ink from the page somehow. It wasn't whiteout. It was...
No, it was probably some sort of transference paper.
Yeah, you're probably right. It was, yeah, there's some great technology that's become obsolete. I don't know.
Well, that's why I type 120 words a minute.
You know, and my wife, Netter, she praises me about my typing skills. It's because between 8th grade and my freshman year, I took a typing class at my high school just so that I could get to, in the summertime, go to the school, kind of learn my way around, because I didn't want to be the freshman who was completely lost the first day of school, you know? So I took a typing class. And let me tell you, that was a skill that has paid off. I can, to this day, without looking, I can look at what I'm transcribing and type over 100 words a minute, yeah.
Well, I tell people all the time, I live in a constant state of, I call it historical psychosis, because I grew up without any technology. We had
I can see that, sure.
Black and white television. And
yeah.
We got the first cable there was. It was called View. It was a box that had one channel. Between like 5 a.m. and noon, it was kids programming. From noon to like 3 in the afternoon, it was the daytime TV kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was like HBO quality stuff.
Sure.
And then from then until midnight, it was like PG and R stuff. But after midnight, it was Skinamax.
Skinamax. We all remember Skinamax.
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about.
8 years old.
Oh, don't give me that boomer. Don't give me that boomer.
When I was 8 years old, my mom and dad got up. They heard something. We lived in a mobile home, and they heard something, and they got up, and it's me and my two little brothers, and we're sitting in the living room watching Skinamax.
Did you? Okay, so if you only had the one channel, you probably didn't have this experience. This was pretty common for us up here. So if you had cable, but you didn't have the premium channels, the premium channels were all scrambled. Mm-hmm. And so what you do is, and actually some of those premium channels, cable was very, very different. Sometimes you could pick up the cable channel on your regular TV. It was a very strange time, and they were scrambled. But sometimes if you had the
shielding.
Yeah. So if you had the kind of TV where it, instead of the click, click, click where you would change to the channel, it was more like a radio where you could kind of get in between the channels. You could get it so that you could almost kind of see something. Yeah. That was...
I wonder if somebody experimented with analog technology, what they'd find right now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You can get in between.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's so it sounds like a very different but still very similar kind of experience to some of the stuff we've talked about on the channel here.
I mean, my first job, I had to have a pager.
I remember having the pager. Well, I was in the early 90s. My one of my first big jobs after I got married, I was in management and I had to carry a pager. And looking back on that, it was like, what a ridiculous technology that was. I mean, it was like that in-between technology between nothing and something useful, almost,
Well, when I was dating my first wife, I used it to entertain her. I'd stick it in her front pocket while she was roller skating, and then I'd go use the payphone.
And to vibrate it? Yeah, I'm with you there. I understand that concept. Before we go any further with that, though, I do want to say hi to the chat and introduce as many of them as I can. I'm sorry. There was somebody who had dropped a note yesterday, and I should have gotten a screen capture, and I missed the bloke. So if he's here and he wants to say hi, I'd love to call you out, but I kind of missed you. But the first one that's showing up right now for me is, of course, Aged Boomer. Aged Boomer. I'm sorry. Wow, I'm well into my Jameson here. Is Big Al of Big Al Presents, awesome friend of the channel, who I'm on his channel every other week, doing watch parties. He's saying, "Hello, everyone," and in quotes, because this is an old Irish blessing. May your troubles be less, may your blessings be more, and nothing but happiness come through your door. Have a great stream, Troy Pacelli. Thank you so much, Aged Boomer. Aged Boomer. What the fuck is wrong with me? I'm sorry, guys.
Big Al presents.
Big Al Presents. Aged Boomer, you got to keep me on track here, man. But thanks, Big Al. You are awesome. Deleted Scenes, whose link is below. He's our Maître D. He is in there blue wrenching for us because I'm too blotto to keep up with what's going on here. And he is telling everyone, don't forget to hit the like and share the stream. And I'm also going to add, make sure you go to all the links that I have down below. Subscribe to everyone who's making this stream work. Myself, Netter, Aged Boomer, and of course our guest, StoryMan Jack, and the Maître D, whose note is still showing here. Deleted Scenes. And every link that he drops, I want everybody in the stream to right click on that, open up another browser window, subscribe to whomever he's dropping a link to, and then come back here, and then you can follow up with those channels later on. And of course,
like to hear an Irish toast from me, Troy.
Yes, I would like to hear an Irish toast.
Go for it. Since you attributed me to somebody else's toast, I'll give you a toast of my own, okay?
Go for it.
Here we go. May your glass be ever full. May the roof over your head be always strong. And may you be in heaven half an hour before the devil knows you're dead.
Nice.
Wow, that's very interesting. I like that. I like that very much. And Netter, of course, I love you too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being my bouncer. And everyone, make sure you be nice to her and subscribe to her because she is now streaming live every Thursday night.
And the sooner I get to 300, the sooner I get to give away more stuff.
She likes to give away stuff when she hits her milestones. Lady Mist, she's got to be one of the most encouraging people in the community. I super appreciate her so much. As I do David Pensack. Good evening, Troy Pacelli, Aged Boomer, Netter's Network, Deleted Scenes, and all of the chat. Thank you so much, David. You are awesome. Tim Hayes, it seems so early now with daylight savings time. Yeah, it's not even a week. We're into daylight savings time, and people are still getting caught up. I'm still struggling with the loss of sleep. It's absolutely.
I get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work, and that first day I got up and got in the truck and it said 3:30. That hurt.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Especially since my last job, I was working overnight. So, yeah.
The only upside to the crap we've been through in the past 3 years is that Netter and I both get to work from home, so our commute is minuscule. But it still hurts. It's still an hour. An hour is an hour.
I did it for 5 years before the pandemic. I was an admin for a data center. So I had worked my way up to where all I had to do was watch servers overnight. So I was able to put out much more content. I was able to get more writing done, that sort of thing.
Yep.
I was like that guy on the space shuttle who's down on ground control. All he has is a big red button. And he watches where that ship is. And if they tell him it's going to break up, he has to hit that button and blow it up before it gets over land.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That is very grim, but very, very practical, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Because they're coming in over the East Coast.
Whew, man, yeah. Man, that's the kind of thing you don't normally think about, but wow.
Well,
Evelyn Hampton, thank you so much for being here. Evelyn Hampton is a dear personal friend of me and Netter, and it's always encouraging to see her in the chat. Maj Ka and Kabla, Admiral, it's good to see you. Logical Spock, hey peeps. Yep, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. By all means, if I do miss anybody, please, drop another chat, say hi, because it's not my intent. I'm just getting a little fuzzy because, well, I'm going to blame St. Patrick's Day weekend. Gorilla Random Thoughts, hapla! It's good to see you, my friend, and make sure you subscribe to his channel. His channel is kind of fledgling, but it deserves a lot of subs. Please make sure you're subscribed to him if at all you can. And super appreciate seeing you guys all saying hi to each other. Big Al said he's sipping on a Diet Dr. Pepper. Oh, a Netter special. That's awesome. Good to see that. Saying hi to each other. Geek Flag with Nate Knows. Nate, good to see you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Faith and Bigora. Good to see you, my friend. Sipping on a... Oh, this sounds interesting. Spice orange herbal tea. That sounds very interesting. That would be really good with a little bit of Everclear. No, I'm kidding, Evelyn. No.
It's actually really good with honey.
I dig that. I totally dig that. I'm trying to corrupt my chat here with the booze. Let's see. Who am I missing here? Man, I love you guys being saying hi to each other. Pacific 414. I'll have to get you back on the channel sometime real soon. Super appreciate you being here, my friend. Samael. Hell, out here it's warm in February if it's above 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Holy crap. I don't even know where you're at, Samael. Let us know. That's... Wow. Stephen Random, I haven't seen you in a while, but man, I super appreciate seeing you here. You are awesome. Glad to see you. Welcome. And Jack, thanks for sticking with me here. I do like to say hi to everybody because they are so important to me. Skinamax. Yeah, Skinamax. Let's face it. Let's call it what it is. It's softcore porn, or it was.
What?
It was. I mean,
they're like
I think this modern generation doesn't even know what Cinemax was.
I don't even know if people still watch it.
Does it still exist as a channel?
I've got one really funny story, though. It's related to Star Wars, and I didn't need to tell you while we're on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple years later, when Empire Strikes Back came out, of course, that was the one movie we got to go see, and I only remember before I was 14 seeing 3 or 4 movies in my life out of the theater, because we had to go to the drive-in. And so we get to the drive-in, and it's sold out. And, of course, we're whiny kids in the back seat.
Yeah.
So Dad's pulling around, and he's like, hey, Flash Gordon's playing. You guys want to watch Flash Gordon? So, we're in the big...
Which Flash Gordon was this?
Well, this was around 83, 85,
So it was the new release. It was the...
I'm getting to that part.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I knew what Flash Gordon was. But when we pulled up and Dad went to buy the tickets, the lady looked at him really funny. And I remember that look. And she had to have been like 17, but to me she was 30 or 40.
Yeah.
She looked at my dad funny. She looked in the back seat at me and then looked back at my dad. And she goes, are you really sure you want to see this? Oh. And he's like, yeah. And so she sold him the tickets. We get in. It is not Flash Gordon.
I know what it is.
I know. Now I know what it is.
We're interrupting him. Sorry.
So it is Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon.
Instead of a death ray on the airplane, it is a sex ray, and there's an orgy on the first scene of the entire movie. And my mom turns to my dad, and I remember this as clear as day. Don't you think we should leave? And I remember my dad. He was 20 when I was born. I mean, 19 when I was born.
Sure.
Or he had just turned 20 a week before I was born. And Mom turned 20 a week after I was born.
That's ancient to you at the time. Now looking back, they're kids.
Yeah. And he goes, hell no, we paid for this. So we watched that entire movie. I was like 8, 9 years old, something like that.
Right? Yes.
And my brother was 2 years younger than me. And our baby brother hadn't even been thought of yet. So Mom said it was the first time nobody had to go to the bathroom. Nobody wanted popcorn. Nobody to the screen.
So
I get confused when I think of Flash Gordon, and I get confused with certain scenes. I'm like, no, that's not right.
yeah. If you saw Flash Gordon before you saw Flash Gordon, I could see that kind of messing with your head a little bit.
Once, and somebody sent me a poster. I have it around here somewhere. It's the movie poster for Flash Gordon.
That is so funny. I went to the theater. My mom took. No, we've talked about this on the channel many times. Before there was PG-13, there was nothing between PG and R. So PG could get away with a whole lot. In fact, PG had a lot of material in it that would now earn it an R rating. And my mom took me and my buddy down the street. We were in grade school at the time. Took us to see a PG film called Airplane. And Airplane had the gal come across with, she was topless and she shakes her boobs in front of the screen at one point. There's the scene where the stewardess has to blow up the blow up
the inflatable pilot.
The inflatable pilot, and the spigot to blow it up was where his groin would be. Yeah. So, yeah, that whole joke. And my mom, I heard her on the phone the following day. She was talking to the mom of my friend, and she's telling her all these things. And she's like, this is what you should know about what was in this movie. But my thought on it was, and you tell me if your thought is different, if the kids didn't understand and it went over their heads, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
And if they did understand, well, no further harm done. Right?
That reasoning is how Disney's gotten away with what it's gotten away with since the beginning of time, all the over the head jokes.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
I mean, it was there in Hanna-Barbera, the over your head jokes. They've always been there. But
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Let me get back to the chat and say hi to Skipper Kenner. And here I had to settle for my dad's National Geographics. Yeah, you missed out, man. My dad subscribed to Playboy, so I at least had that.
I had that too.
Let me tell you, Playboy got me through puberty.
Can you guys give me just a moment, please?
Sure.
No, absolutely. Go ahead. I'm going to keep saying hi to the rest of the chat.
The little comic strips in Playboy.
I did. Half of them I didn't understand. My favorite. Look, as much as I loved looking at the girls in Playboy, I love the Playboy party jokes. I still use some of them today. I would not be surprised if I don't quote one of the Playboy party jokes tonight during the stream. Samuel says, try explaining the rabbit ears reception dance to kids today. Oh, Samuel. and this is funny because I don't know what age group Samuel falls into, but do you remember those rabbit ears and putting tinfoil on them to try and hopefully get a little bit extra reception on that?
What's up?
I mean, my gosh.
Go outside and hold this up.
Right. Let's see. Skipper Kenner's on duty. Hit and miss tonight. That's fair. Skipper Kenner is a true American hero. He is a lieutenant at a local firehouse. So so he's listening in while he's on duty. So thoughts and prayers to everybody at his firehouse, especially because he's the guy in charge. Want to say hi to Hellion. Hi, y'all. Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Super appreciate you being here. Make sure I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it deeply if you would subscribe to everybody listed in the description below, including our guest, Storyman Jack. Let me and you're all saying hi to each other. I'm looking to see if I've missed anybody. Yeah, Evelyn Ham, Flesh Gordon. Part of me wants to ask you, Evelyn, if you've ever seen Flesh Gordon, and another part of me is like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Well, let me tell you, as a sex education class, it was pretty much a lot. It was a lot better than the one I got in school.
Let me, my recollection of Flesh Gordon is incredibly fuzzy, but I remember it being pretty softcore-ish. It wasn't as bad as,
but it was a lot of it.
Yeah.
Whole tribes of women and stuff. So
yep. Boosh.
Wasn't there a King Kong character in it? My dad told me about that once. There was a King Kong scene, like with a dinosaur grabbing the woman.
Don't know about that, but there was a Queen Kong. There was a Queen Kong. That might be worth checking out for you, my friend. But Boosh.
Years later on Cinemax. That's why it brought it to mind.
And I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to be missing a lot of your comments because I'm really getting caught up, and I do want to get back to our guest. D. Jodeci saying hi to everybody. It's so good to see y'all.
Beach.
Hell, with Playboy, my neighbor had XXX laser discs.
What?
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I'm not surprised. Look. The only reason I could do a whole video about how home media exists specifically because of porn. It really does. VHS and DVD was driven by the desire to show nudity, in the home.
Or even just be able to pause on that Fast Time scene, right?
And rewind and wear out that videotape. Yeah, give me some Phoebe Cates. There's no doubt about that.
How many times have we wore out videotapes?
Right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm so glad we switched to digital. I know I said hi to Geek Flag earlier, but just in case, because I'm not 100% clear. Hi, Geek Flag with Nate Knows, 1973. I don't know what the 1970... Is 1973 your birth year? You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that if that's too personal. If it is, that means you're 2 years younger than I am. Just saying. Hellion is saying I stepped on the tinfoil container once.
That was
I still have the scar.
rabbit ears.
Oh. So I've been making a lot of bacon lately, and so I've been using tinfoil, tearing it off to line the tray. So yeah, I understand how that could.
You don't fry it, you bake it?
I don't. Yeah, because I want to make sure that it's as crisp as possible. So, okay, Okay, so this is just a little tip for y'all. This is my personal thing. If you like crispy bacon, 375 oven for 30 minutes. And I don't care if you put it on a rack or if you put it right down in the grease. Either way, it's going to be crisp. I've been making Netter a bunch of bacon cheddar cheeseburgers this week. And she's pissed at me for all the weight she's putting on, but, you know.
You're making me fat.
I'm making her fat, but you know what? She's still fucking hot to me, so I don't care.
Just do it without the bread.
Yeah, I should probably do it without the bread, but I've been giving. I had a loaf of sourdough.
Yeah, you should do
Sourdough.
it without the sourdough.
Come on, man, sourdough bread. I mean, you know.
I was a diabetic, so I had to. I weighed like 370, and
So you've gone through the whole weight loss process too. You.
I did keto.
Keto, yeah. You know what? Especially if you're working out and building the muscle. That's the way to go. I just got to say. Of course, there's no medical advice here.
No,
Just sharing our own personal experiences.
That's different.
I've heard a lot about these air fryers. I say fuck it. If I'm gonna fry, I'm gonna fry in the. I literally made these cheeseburgers, the beef patties. I literally put them in the bacon fat. Just because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. If we're going to go healthy, we'll go healthy. But if we're going to enjoy ourselves, we're going to just, friggin' enjoy ourselves.
But that's on keto. You just don't eat carbs.
I know. Carbs are killer because they really are empty.
Well, for me, as a diabetic, carbs turn into sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So when I cut out the carbs, I was effectively getting on a keto diet anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Keely Chow, I super appreciate you. Thanks for being here, my friend. And let's get back to focusing on our special guest tonight, our bartender, our guest behind the bar tonight. So I know you kind of already went into this a little bit with our first question, but your personal background, without being too personal, any more than you feel comfortable sharing, tell us your background. Where are you from? And I don't mean regionally, but
rural Texas, rural southern Oklahoma. Moved around a lot. Dad lost his job in '86 when that downturn happened, and we lived with a different family member every 6 weeks or so until finally in 1990, we moved back to Texas, and he started his own business. I graduated high school in '92, and worked with him for a few years, and then I went in the military. So my goal all my life, all I ever did was read and write stories. All my life, since I was 3 years old. So I wanted to go to college.
Would you describe yourself as a kind of a head in the clouds kind of guy?
Yeah, my mom once told me after my last divorce that I needed to find somebody just like me, and I told her if I did, we'd never eat.
There is something to be said for the whole opposites attract. You kind of need somebody to balance you out.
Yeah, well, and it's just because, and it's been more the last 5 or 6 years that I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. I mean, just this week, these are the stories that I've come up with. And 2 of them are ready to be recorded, if not one final edit before they're recorded. So I'll show you the thumbnails of all the ones I've got lined up that I've got situations and outlines for.
Yep, I dig that.
The whole point to this, though, all these stories that I tell about myself, this is the reason I don't mind being open, is because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Basic human communication is storytelling.
You are so right. I feel like, and this is going to kind of lead into what I kind of talked about a little bit in the description below and in the material that I've put out throughout the week promoting the channel, or the stream, I should say, is that I feel is the disconnect between the entertainment that we're getting from the modern entertainment industry and what most people expect from storytelling. Storytelling is a form of communication, and you need to know who your audience is. If your audience is the fans of some particular IP, whether it's for Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, whatever it is, you need to understand what it is you're communicating to them. Unfortunately, I feel like most writers in professional IPs these days are writing to an audience that either doesn't exist or is too small to be financially sustainable. They're writing to a group of people that don't give a crap about these IPs.
They're not writing. They're not writing.
Right. I agree with you, but can you expand on that?
When you have to use a checklist, I've got to have this many people of this, and I've got to have this many people of that, and I've got to make sure these immutable characteristics are here. And then I have quotas. I have to have this many of them and that many of them, and can't have too many of this, and this particular group has to be the bad guy, and this particular group can't be portrayed as bad at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, on top of that, I've got to put in a message.
Yep.
Whereas the only thing you really have to worry about is entertaining somebody.
Right.
Okay? That's the point. The message that you're telling is from your inner soul, and it will come through in your writing. You don't even know what message you're trying to give sometimes.
Right. I would,
This is true, Elliot.
What you're saying kind of makes me think of, you ever heard of Jordan Peterson?
Yes.
Okay, so Jordan Peterson has talked about this concept of intersectionalism, right? Mm-hmm. Where this idea that I need to see myself portrayed on the screen or in the story or whatever to be able to relate to this character. And so what does that mean? Does that mean I need to see somebody who's, half Italian, half Irish, white guy, in order, overweight, bald, in order to see him as someone that I can relate to? Hell no! That's not what I want, right? When I see Superman... What were you saying?
Here's the
Go
thing.
ahead.
We live in a society that we've bred that is completely and unashamedly narcissistic. Okay?
Right. You're absolutely right.
With our heroes, with our protagonists, with our antagonists, what we're supposed to relate to is the thing they're trying to attain to. The first hero was Jesus Christ. That is what we're to attain to. We're never going to be at that level. It's just not possible.
Right.
But it is something to relate to, achieve. It is things that inspire you. It's their heart. It is their struggle that they go through, how they deal with situations that teach us lessons. And I argue that one of the biggest reasons that you shouldn't race swap established characters is, number one, it's racist, because if I did that to John Henry, what would they do?
Oh, right, exactly.
Number two,
Let's do a biopic on Harriet Tubman and recast it as a transgendered white person.
I don't know. I wonder if some of these writers know who these people even are, though.
right, that's true.
That's the worst part about it, right? Before you start doing the race and gender swapping, understand the character, understand what they represent in the storytelling.
Well, here's the thing. We have two problems with immutable characteristics. Number one is the reader's bias. So when I'm creating a character, I want that character to be as complete and whole a person as I can make them, because I'm what is called a pantser. I don't plot my stories out. Best, I have a kind of guideline, okay? And that is after the fact. What I do is I have a situation in mind, and it falls into a genre: horror, science fiction, fantasy, whatever. And then I create the characters as real as I possibly can make them, and I place them in that situation, and I let them tell me their story. Now, from a reader's standpoint, if one of the characters is black, you expect them to have, whether it's fantasy or not, when you see that person, you have your own bias as to what you know that person's normalized culture is.
Right.
Okay?
I hear you.
That's from the reader's perspective. From the writer's perspective, you've given them that culture in order for you to understand where they're going and kind of predict it.
What you are getting at is the fact that writing is a form of communication between the writer and the reader. And needing to know your audience is a form of communication. So you need to know
time.
I'm sorry?
Through space and time.
Absolutely true. That's the other thing. So many stories that I see coming out of the entertainment industry right now are so specific to the current era because that's all they understand. Whereas the best stories are timeless.
The worst
The best stories come from two places. The best stories all came from right here.
The Bible. I dig it, man.
All of the best heroes, all of the best stories, their archetypes are found here. Okay?
We keep talking about archetypes. That's important. If you want to tell a story that will last through the generations, you need to understand the concept of archetypes. If you want to tell a story that earns you social credit in the short term, do whatever is appropriate for the modern era. You know, this whole concept of retelling stories for the modern era is
what they're telling stories for is not the modern era. They're telling stories for the postmodern era.
I get you.
Because they're all postmodernists.
And real quick, Boomer, there was something you were starting to say, and I think we cut you.
I was just bringing up a point that dating your material, a very bad trend in a lot of television is consistently referencing the pandemic.
Yes.
Which we're all over at this point, and I don't want to hear about it anymore on these shows like a year later. I know they think, we have to bring it up. No, you don't. You can leave it alone on your show.
Part of this breakdown, so what is happening in the media industry? In fact, I have a book, and I'm going to self-publish that book because the two different publishers that made me offers wanted me to do things I was not willing to do.
Real quick, make sure... Everybody, please make sure you're subscribing to our guest. His link is below. You can follow him, and then when he puts out the information about publication and stuff, you'll be in on the ground floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I had two publishers set up, and the last one basically told me if I couldn't make one of my characters transgender, then there was going to be no deal.
Wow.
So
I understand why more people are self-publishing.
Yes. And I tried to explain to him. I said, I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell something. I get that. But I have to understand where somebody comes from to be able to tell you that truth.
Here's the problem with this whole concept of transgender. The transgender population is a less than 1% of the population. if you are trying to be successful as a writer or whatever you're putting out, catering to that less than 1% is self-defeating.
Yeah.
It's just simple numbers, folks.
No,
it really is.
That's not to say that somebody can't write a great story with a transgender character. But
actually, I would say that one of the best sci-fi stories, and unfortunately I'm pretty fuzzy right now, guys, because, but there was a great sci-fi story about, it involved time travel and transgenderism and stuff, and this was written back in like the 60s or something like that. That's good writing, that's good sci-fi. But that is where sci-fi excels, right? This idea of fiction, fantasy that simply doesn't exist.
And not just that, when you write, you learn. I learn as much from writing a story as for example, it was probably 2010. I was working for QuickBooks, so yeah, it was 2010. I wrote a story. It was about a communist society decided they were going to colonize a planet and have their own planet and do their thing.
Right.
And so I followed that, and within a generation, they were at war with itself. Because logically, I played that game out in my mind. And so long as a commune is small enough that everybody agrees, it's fine. But eventually, little Joey is going to want more than what little Timmy has. And
that's the interesting thing. We talk about these concepts of what we would like our society to be, and we ignore human nature.
Right.
So you hear these people talking about, socialism. Real socialism hasn't been tried. Real socialism is a fantasy because it doesn't work with real human nature. If you try real socialism, you are going to run afoul of the fact that the elite will always manipulate their power over, other people. Socialism, it cannot happen because of human nature. I'm sorry, it just is impossible.
Well, on a small scale, a couple of families living together could do that, but
yes, right, because honestly, when it comes to my wife, I'd give my life for her.
Well,
right?
A family is a socialist society.
Absolutely. So on a very close family, but I'm sorry, the farther out you go, the more selfish you get.
And the problem is that they use because I'm a writer, I was in the liberal arts, I have a sociology degree, and I have a language arts degree.
Jack, let me interrupt you real quick because I want to relate to you on that. Talk about, liberal arts. When I went to college, I was in the liberal arts department because it was psychology. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason I dropped out of college. I was like, this does not reflect reality. And this was back in the... Netter helped me out. We married in 92, so it was
92?
like... So, yeah, it was about 92 I dropped out of college. I was like, forget this crap.
I understand it's an oxymoron, but I do have my English degree from the University of Oklahoma. But I was in the military at the time, so I didn't get college life. I was in military life. So they had to give me waivers for classes.
You were insulated, is what you were saying.
And so they graded me a little bit more fairly than my compatriots. Of course, I was 22, and all these kids were 17 and 18. that I was in class with to begin with. But
So, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but real quick, I do want to get caught up on the chat here. D just saying, kind of like season.
Yeah.
This is interesting to me because this is very different from what I've been hearing about Picard season 3. Kind of like season 3, no real writing, just basically saying a bunch of member berries. I have not seen a single episode of this Picard thing. I've heard a lot of stuff about Picard. I may have to revisit that at some point. And Deej, hit me up on my DMs. I think this would be a good conversation for us to have. I'd love to have you on the channel if you'd like to.
I was contemplating on going back and watching season 1 and 2, forcing my wife and son to watch them.
One of the things I'm hearing is that, like, you almost want to pretend that 1 and 2 didn't happen and just watch season 3.
They just show up together or something?
I don't know. Yeah, there's a real problem with the current canon in Star Trek. I may have to do a whole separate stream about that, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
The biggest problem, the reason I started putting my story... I've been writing since I was a little kid. I've been published in Alfred Hitchcock's mystery magazine in the UK. I mean, the UK version. I was published in Science Fiction and Fantasy of America when I was a kid. I lived my life. So that's the other thing I wanted to relate to people. You can't write stories if you're sitting in front of a computer screen all day. If you're
hold on a second, guys. Did he get real quiet, or am I just so drunk that I can't hear him?
I can hear him.
You're deaf, dear.
Hold on a second. What happened to my sound?
I don't know.
Give me a second here.
But our guest was saying
I'm sorry, guys. Something's wrong with my sound. I'm not hearing anything.
Oh.
Did you turn it off there?
I don't know.
Oh, on the thing itself. Isn't that a turn on off thing?
No, I can hear, but it's very, very quiet for some reason.
Huh.
Bear with me, guys.
Make sure the thing is actually in your ear, not just sitting kind of...
It is.
Okay.
It's in my ear. It hasn't moved. I've got it all the way up. Boomer, say something.
DH Odyssey says it's you, Troy. Laugh out loud.
You want
Hello,
mine
can you hear
instead?
me?
No, that's not going to help me.
Can you hear me?
It might be your earphones.
I can hear you, but it's very, very quiet for some reason. What's wrong with my sound?
I don't know. Do you have a spare set somewhere?
I have my sound literally all the way up, and it's...
Is there a volume adjuster on your earpiece?
I'm broken, guys. I don't know what happened.
Oh.
I can hear everybody just fine, so it's you.
Boomer, carry on until I can figure out what's wrong with my sound.
StoryMan Jack, you were saying about how, you have... Being a writer, you can't be in front of a computer screen all day.
Yeah, you have to get out and live your life. You have to experience things. I mean,
I can't turn the sound up any louder.
I've traveled. I was in the military. I've seen combat. I've explored things. I've done things I probably shouldn't have done. Took chances, but I also, when I was a kid, I would be the one in my room reading when the other kids were outside playing. But you still have to get out and live your life. You can't live your life just to see what other people can give you and do for you. You've got to do it yourself, or you can't. Because a storyteller's a philosopher, right? He's exploring ideas he doesn't even know he's exploring. In a way, it's kind of spiritual because I kind of see it as like if you believe in an omniverse and you believe in certain parts of string theory that may or may not be true anymore, depending on who you listen to, then everything that you imagine is possibly another dimension. So I kind of believe that as storytellers, the better ones, they're able to see into that other dimension and articulate it onto the page so that everybody can experience that world. So from a logical standpoint, it doesn't make sense to race swap and gender swap characters. But also from my perspective, on a spiritual standpoint, it's wrong to do so as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was going back to what you were saying about your editor telling you to change
Yeah.
your one character, that, and I've expected this has been going on a while, even before they started taking known characters and asking them to start doing that with them. It was probably the new and upcoming writers, whatever. Hey, can you change this? Can you
Hmm.
make this character into a maybe
It wasn't.
change the sex?
It wasn't just the pandemic that caused all the most popular writers to halt production of whatever they were working on.
Well, yeah, well, it was.
We had a bunch of new artists came out during the pandemic, a lot of new audiobooks, a lot of new paperbacks and dime store novels, fantasy, urban fantasy, that sort of
Right.
thing. But the most popular ones who were due to release a novel or two during that time didn't.
Interesting. And is this, were they just getting fed up with being told that they can't by their editors to keep changing things?
I don't know. People are afraid to say stuff.
Yikes. Well, that's what it's sounding like. I guess that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Because being a writer is hard enough, I guess, but then you have to worry about getting attacked by the mob.
For me, I'm in the place I should have been in my 20s, right? Where I've got plenty of ideas and great things going. I just have no time because I have to make money to live.
Yeah.
I mean, typically it takes me, let's say I've got a real hot idea, it'd take me 5-6 hours to write an hour-long story. Rough draft, one sitting. I have to put that thing away truly to do it correctly for like 6 weeks.
Right. Sure.
So I can forget it. So that when I go back to edit it, my brain is not filling in the holes because I remember what's supposed to happen.
Right. And you can look at it with fresh eyes after, 6 weeks, I think?
With YouTube, I've been doing this for 3 years. By all rights, I should have, 5,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is I can't catch I can't play to the algorithm because it's just a one-man show. I'm doing the voices, I'm doing the editing, I'm doing the all the mixing of music, background music, and sound effects, and all that stuff I'm putting in there, plus the visuals and all that stuff. I'm trying to think of new things to do.
Right.
It's just a one-man show. I don't even have. I'm lucky enough that my son likes to read some of my stuff, if it's fantasy or so. And then my wife will read stuff, but she's more of a, I don't want to hurt your feelings, and that's the biggest thing that people don't understand about me because they've been abused, is that it does not matter if you don't like my work. Tell me why you don't like my work. Because writers cannot get better if they don't listen to the criticism.
And let me jump in here. This idea of taking constructive criticism, that is something that I don't see and I'm going to just say it this way, the left being able to deal with, right? If you want to get better, you are open to criticism. And unfortunately, there are certain people that can't deal with being criticized. If you can't deal with being criticized, you need to grow the fuck up, get out of the industry, and let the adults do their thing. And by the way, thanks for everyone who was being patient with me. I figured out what my technical issues were.
Really, the most important thing is that everybody has a story to tell.
Right.
At the end of my stories, at the end of my writing tips, I say the same thing. Your life is your story. Try to make it a great one.
And real quick, I do want to say again to D. Jodeci, please send me a private message. I'd love to have you on the channel sometime. I think we got some things to talk about. I think we'd have some fun. So, just saying. But
so like, I don't know. I just see something and bam, I've got an idea. It's that quick, and that's why I don't really plot things out, because I get what if. That's my mentality. What if? And then, I can get stuck for a month on a story and I can't produce content because I'm stuck. Because my characters have written me into a corner. Yeah. Good example is this. Are you guys familiar with The Stand?
Yes.
Either the movie or the book, not the last miniseries they did, but the older miniseries.
I wish I was.
Oh my god! I tried to give it a chance, and then Amber Heard showed up.
Oh gosh, I've got a whole stream dedicated to that whole ridiculous.
Amber Heard and Ezra Miller were on it.
Yeah. Yes, I know. But anyway, there's a scene in it when Harold plants a bomb.
Right.
Well, what he had done is he had gotten to the point where they were turning the electricity back on, and he's like, oh crap, we're just going to start it all over again. I didn't make any point. I didn't do anything. I've just written all this for nothing. It took him 8 months for the bomb idea to hit him. To reset it.
Wow.
Because that's how he writes a lot of his stories. Now, he does plot some of them. But,
yeah, I read in this book on writing, he had plotted out, what was the one? The Dead Zone. But he said a lot of the ones he doesn't like to plot them out. I think I read that.
Yeah, the On Writing is a very, very good book. I don't agree with Mr. King's politics, and sometimes I think he is not being genuine. But he is one of the earliest people I looked up to as far as writers.
Sure.
I got to say about Stephen King, he is the example I always use of a writer who his translations to film have historically, well, they've sucked.
You know why? You know why?
Why?
Because every single time it's studio involvement, he's not.
That's a big part of it. So what we'll get from Stephen King is we'll get one version that is very studio driven, and then we'll get like a television cable version that's his version of it. And honestly, it's closer to what he wrote, but still not a good film adaptation of what he wrote.
Because he's using his TV budget.
I would argue that, look, and I've made this comparison before, when it comes to translating a book into a film, you need to not only translate the story, but you need to think, what is the story trying to convey? Just like when you translate between languages, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, most of the time people fail. And when it comes to Stephen King, they fail 100% of the time.
A lot of the times they're not getting enough input from the writer, or they're not taking enough of it. Because most of the time in Hollywood, the screenwriter has nothing to do with the writer, the original writer.
And it used to be the opposite. Like in the early days of Hollywood, the actual writer would write the screenplays.
I mean...
You know, actually, Skipper Kenner makes a great point here. Stephen King builds a picture in our heads, which is what what a writer should do, right?
Yeah.
No film can capture the canvas he's painting his story on. I disagree with you a little bit, Skipper Kenner, because the job of somebody who is translating, and again, this is like translating between languages, right? When you translate from book to film, you need to think through, okay, what is the message the author is telling? I need to convey that in film the way he has conveyed it in words. And that, I think, is what needs to be happening, and it almost never happens with Stephen King's writings.
None of these people understand genre. None of these people in Hollywood understand genre. So here's the problem. Star Wars is what kicked it off, The Last Jedi.
Yep.
Okay? Because I honestly thought, oh, he's giving it to Disney. What a better caretaker there could be. Because I grew up with Aladdin and The Lion King.
Oh, yeah, I loved Aladdin. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I raised my kids with that. So what a guardian that should have been. Right?
Yeah.
And I was quite disappointed with The Force Awakens because I thought it was, a retread. But I'm like, I really enjoyed the sequel trilogy prequel trilogy when everybody else didn't. Yeah. I didn't really like Jar Jar, but I thought the same thing about The Force Awakens that I thought about The Phantom Menace. That it was hard to have a starting point as good as the original. So that he struggled with that. But it was just that nobody cared to have a plan or understand what they were doing.
I want to read off this comment and talk about it a little bit. It's a great thought experiment here. When King retains creative control, it tends to suck on screen. The Mist, for example, versus Sleepwalkers. On the page, though, he shines.
Yes.
What that speaks to is a writer who writes to a specific medium, right? Yeah. He is good in prose. He doesn't translate well in film. Certainly, and this is something you said, Jack, this concept of when the studio is involved, that fucks everything. Right? It doesn't. It gets in the way of what the author is trying to say.
I'm sorry, focus groups don't work. They just don't.
But the other side of it is something that Alan Moore has constantly said. I wrote for a specific medium. I told my story the way I intended to tell my story. If you change the medium, you change the story implicitly.
Sometimes. No, I mean, who's not read a great novel and gone, I wish this person could play this character, and I wish this person could play this character? We've all done it.
Right.
We used to joke about that when we were kids with our fantasy novels, knowing nobody would ever make one. Well, so here's the things that happened. In 2007, there was a writer's strike.
Right.
Who took over the writing responsibilities while they were on strike? The studios.
Yeah.
And they said to themselves, we can do this without them. So now, writers got the money they wanted and some of the things they wanted, but now their hands are tied creatively. I know that they know how to write. We all have seen it. These are not any different people than were there in the 90s and 80s. Okay? I mean, do we think that Steven Spielberg lost his mind? They all just suddenly sucked? No. This was market driven by studios.
Yep.
Creatives have their hands tied. That's the problem with this. That's the problem with going from a studio. Yeah, there was a lot of bad things about the studio model, but then going to a corporate model made them worse.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I think that brings me to my next question for you, Jack, is what kinds of topics are you looking to cover? Which ones are you the most interested in focusing on your channel?
So I don't have control over what ideas I get, right? So you mind if I share my screen?
No, yeah, give me a second here. Go ahead.
No.
What do you got to share with me?
Okay, so this one is written. It's probably about to be recorded. Is about. I thought, what if all the fairy tales and legends we have about wizards was just one guy?
Interesting.
And what if it was not just one guy, but one? When one died, their apprentice took over. So it's just one line of people that passing power between each other. And this is he's found his apprentice, and he's not all with it. He's kind of scatterbrained kind of character. So I wanted to see how that situation played out. That sort of thing.
Real quick, let me interrupt just for a personal reason. Skipper Kenner, we'll give you a call when I wrap up my doctor's appointment tomorrow. And we'll get together and we'll chip in on that pizza. Just go ahead and order it. Okay? Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Then this one's called Wandering the Wilderness. It's basically a play on Moses. It's kind of after the world's in kind of a depression, and he's lost his son to war, and he's driven his wife away, and he's solitary, and he's gone out. Used to be a writer. He's gone out in the middle of nowhere, and he's burying his dog, and he gets a call, blah blah blah,
right.
Stand here, kneel and let me tell you what to do. And he tells him to walk to the seat of power and to take only with him his cloak, his staff, and the word. And the idea is that he's going to meet people along the way and learn about life and learn about the people. And on these kind of stories, I have to do a lot of research. And, for example, both of these stories are not going to be just one story. It's going to have to be sections.
Sure.
So I do episodic stories a lot, like the old serials. I've been accused of being the dime store novelist of our time.
I see why people would say that, but that's very short-sighted.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Robert Howard was a dime store novelist.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And he wrote Conan and
Right.
Solomon Kane and Cole the Conqueror. And
Great stories that have never gotten their due, in my opinion.
Nope.
Yeah.
This one is obvious.
Yeah.
And then
Boomer, I'm sorry, what were you going to say,
I was
Boomer?
gonna say they keep teasing that Conan series and that Solomon Kane series.
Yeah. Look, I would say if you are interested in Conan and Solomon Kane, follow Midnight's Edge. They'll keep you up to date on that stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe because I'm Irish, I have a thing for redheads, so all my spy chicks have to be redheads.
Look, Netter just, touched up her roots tonight, and she came down a little bit more auburn than usual, and I was not complaining. Just saying.
Well, I do have some Irish in my family. My mom's
You
side.
do have some Irish, and I don't have a problem with that. That's
Well, I'm looking into getting a voice changer because you can tell. I've gotten better over time. If you go back and read some of my first stories I put out, the quality's really bad, and I'm just telling the story.
Well,
Now I'm trying to do
if
voices
you are
and-
ever looking for, I am not what you would consider a voice actor, but if you're ever looking for someone to help you out with the presentation and the recording,
Yeah.
You know, I'd be happy to help out.
So, I mean, like I just showed you, I've got a urban fantasy story. I've got a spiritual story. I've got a spy story. I've got an artificial intelligence story. I don't really control with it, but the through lines are always the same.
Yeah.
They're always those archetypes, our heroes, our villains, our struggles,
Right.
the things we're supposed to understand and think about. I'm not writing it from a standpoint where I'm trying to be literal. I don't even know what the point is sometimes. I just get an idea and I let the story take me.
Sure.
But universal truths are universal truths for a reason. And the reason modern storytelling doesn't work is because they don't like universal truths.
Yeah, that's I'm sorry. I can't really relate to what the hell is going on these days. There is
I see something, I'm like, how the hell is that entertaining?
No, it's not about entertaining. It's about preaching. This is the thing. People have lost sight. For decades, people have railed against, insinuating religious messaging into entertainment. Okay, fine. You are not religious. That is not universal. Fine, we'll keep our religious stuff to ourselves. And yet you have decided that your personal religion, and I'm sorry, these ideologies are their religions. They are pushing them into entertainment these days. That is no different than if we were proselytizing through our writing.
Yeah. And I do that. I have a little short story called The Call, and it's just a guy ends up in church because he made a promise, and he ends up understanding for the first time.
Right.
That sort of thing. Things that you want to think about, the philosophy behind things. Do I intend to do that? Sometimes maybe. But most of the time, I'm just trying to tell a story because I think I got a cool idea. For example, there's a series that I'm rewriting, and it's Fall of Angels. And it is Adam and Lilith and Seth and Cain and Abel, our crew on the Eden, a colony ship, sent by the AI that controls Earth that calls himself the Father.
Interesting.
And he's decided his main goal was to protect humanity above all else. And he's decided that he can't protect the Earth from asteroids and comets and things. So while he's developing a technology to fold space and portal technology and stuff, he sends a colony ship. And it's called the Eden. He invents stasis, and I explain all this stuff. It took me a long time to research. When they wake up, Adam is from Adam's point of view. He wakes up, and the science officer's name is Lucifer. Her name is Lucifer.
Her name is Lucifer. Interesting.
When he wakes up, Eve is the AI that controls the ship. When he wakes up, the sirens are going off. Everything's like the ship's being destroyed. Well, what it is the idea was that the ship went from planetary body to planetary body while the crew and the colonists were in stasis. And they had fusion plants, so it's supposed to be limitless energy. They never found a place that would work. And after 3 million years, they've returned to Earth. Lilith is brain dead because she didn't survive stasis. So Lucifer talks Eve into transplanting her AI into Lilith's body, and they all have to leave the Eden. That kind of reflecting a story everybody knows in a new way to entertain and teach the same old thing that people should have learned a long time ago.
Yeah.
Deleted Scenes is saying I like it already. So I hope Deleted Scenes you're already subscribed. I'm sure you probably are. but keep a very close eye on what Jack is putting out going forward.
Yeah, I am working on getting a regular story stream going once a week, but I need another person, co-host to play off of. I've tried doing it alone, and it's just not as easy to write down all the ideas that the chat's having, plus the way you want to word it, and not have a foil to bounce the ideas off of and tell you the direction the chat's going while I'm doing all this.
Dude, I totally understand you. I could not do this show without actually both Agent Boomer and Netter. I'd be completely lost. And look, every channel in our sphere relies on someone like deleted scenes. I mean, I totally get that. So let me ask you this, Jack. What kinds of topics are you looking to cover going forward? What, ones are you most interested in the channels that you follow?
I've got one that's been bubbling in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And it's called The Write-In Candidate. So a while back, I wrote this story that was basically, the idea was, hey, it's always been a lie that the two truths in the world is you have to pay taxes and die. You don't have to do anything but die.
I would argue that if you treat death as a disease to find a cure for, maybe you don't even have to die.
And I don't even see death as death. I see it as ascension into another path.
That's true.
Another life that we have to live, and then we keep growing. I think that there is a purpose for humanity. I have another story that I'm working on. It's called The Conversation, and it's a guy having a conversation with Jesus. And one of the points is he's like, I don't care about humanity. God does not care about humanity. He cares about you, and he cares about you, and he cares about you. He doesn't care about humanity as a whole. He cares about the individual.
I hope that's true.
And, you can't have faith without a certain level of doubt.
I'm glad you said that because I'm filled with doubt. I really am.
In these times, you can't help but be.
I struggle with that. I really do.
That's why I tell stories. It's very therapeutic. And, as I said, you can't really be... I don't know if Patterson is a philosopher. I know Stephen King is a philosopher. I've heard him. I know George R. R. Martin's a philosopher. I'm pretty sure Tolkien was a philosopher.
He absolutely was. I agree with you 100%. So real quick, let's say goodnight to Nate. It was great meeting you, Storyman Jack, but I have to go to bed. I'm going to work early in the morning. Troy, Agent Boomer, and Netter, and everybody, good night. Dude, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, I get going and I forget the time.
Yeah, you guys in the chat, let's face it, you make this stream happen, so I super appreciate you. If you got to go now, the last half hour of the show, you can always catch on the replay. So Take it easy, buddy. Go on, Jack. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the other problem is that these studios have no idea what they're doing with genre. For example, they're hiring people who don't even like the stories to be showrunner.
That is probably the biggest thing that
the guy
pisses me off. Look, this is why when I watch YouTube channels that have like these fan theories about, I don't know, The Mandalorian and Picard and all these other things, it's like so frustrating because their ideas are so much better than what we actually get from the studios. It's like, fuck those studios.
All it would take would be one studio to go, Let's get a fan to tell us what to do.
You know, Boomer and I have talked about this many times. This is the biggest problem that is affecting our entertainment industry right now, is that they don't want to pay the people that have done the work. And it's ridiculous. What you do is you license the person that comes up with an idea and say, you know what? We want to partner with you. You came up with something. We'll honor you for that. Let's work together. No. Look, it happened with the Axanar situation. It happened with Babylon 5 versus Deep Space Nine. It's like, oh my God, can you just live with the fact that you didn't know what the fuck you had, somebody else did, pay them the money, and work together as a team?
Yeah, well, I probably will never publish traditionally because they would not ever let me retain creative control.
Yeah.
Well, they're changing Ian Fleming now. They're not letting the dead authors retain their creative control.
Right. So I will never do anything but self-publish.
Oh my gosh, what's it called? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. What's his name? Roald Dahl.
They were going after him. Ian Fleming was next.
Look, if you don't like what he did, stay the fuck away from it.
They're changing R.L. Stine stuff, and it's against his will.
Yeah, I'd heard about that. Yeah,
because he doesn't have creative control.
It was the change. Yeah, we were talking about that the other week, right? They're changing,
yes.
What, fat to huge. Those are two different things, or giant or something. It was
words have meaning, and when a writer writes something, he means what he says. If you don't like it, write your own fucking piece of art. Stay the fuck away from what he did.
I'm worried too. They're going to start using these AI programs to edit the works next. They'll be.
Well, anyway, the Wheel of Time it's right behind Tolkien for me.
Right.
Because I read it at a formative age. I was like 10 when I really got into it. So.
Well, let me ask you this, Jack. So you are a writer, and you are creating in a different medium that, at least at the current moment, gives you the freedom to tell your story without oversight and overwrite. What stories are you looking to tell right now?
Well, I mean, like I said, I pushed the envelope a little bit with like the death and taxes thing, where he went to court and argued his point and everything.
Right.
And like I said, the follow-up to that would be the write-in candidate, where it got national news coverage, and he won the presidential election as a write-in candidate. I wanted to explore what that would do. Something that would never happen, but people said Donald Trump would never happen too.
Yeah. People are kind of at a loss for understanding reality. That's what I'm going to say.
And I want to have fun, I want to tell fun stories. And last year I didn't get to because I got sick. But
wait. Jack, you don't want to preach to people? You don't want to force them to agree with you?
No. And sometimes when you tell a story and you think you have one position, you end up with another after you tell it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're really open to the story, yeah, I agree.
Because you have to tell the truth. This is what they are missing when they, it's fantasy, it's space wizards. You have
Oh my gosh. Dude, what you're speaking to is you don't have any business telling these stories if you don't have a respect for the genre you're telling in. This idea that, it's fiction so we can do whatever we want. No, canon means something. If you don't understand that sentence, stay the fuck away from it.
I mean, look at Willow.
Oh,
yep.
No.
Yep.
Loved Willow. Loved it. I remember going to see it when I was 13 or 14 years old.
Yep.
And Mad Mardigan and all that, and
the only thing I had against Willow is I looked at Lucas and I'm like, why aren't you doing another Star Wars story?
no, I know. Well, anyway, it was Willow as an afterthought. It was a story about a gay relationship. I watched 3 episodes, and the gay relationship had 90% of the airtime. The main character, Willow, had less than 1% airtime. The gay relationship here, the gay relationship here, the gay relationship here.
Yeah.
Look, a redheaded person of color in a gay relationship. It was just like it. That's why I canceled this, because people couldn't watch it.
The thing I don't think I've mentioned this on any of my streams. I haven't mentioned this on Boomer Stream, but look, for all of the gay representation that is trying to be pushed in entertainment today, I think what's really being missed is that there is a lot of people, adults, that can appreciate the gay concept, that are incredibly offended by the add-on
real
of their
representation of what.
Yes. So, and this is probably going to piss off Netter, who's sitting directly across from me right now, but I, as a straight male, totally into the whole gay female thing, and their representation is totally okay with me, and I
like boobs.
I like boobs, and 4 boobs is better than 2. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean,
but at the same time, it's like, guys, whatever your predilection is, you still need to appeal to more than just the people that are open to that message. If you can't tell a universal message, if you can't tell a timeless message, you're not telling a message. You're sitting in a corner telling a story to yourself. And in philosophy class, we call that mental masturbation. Excuse me if that term offends you, but right?
I remember sitting in Sociology 101, and they were talking about the concepts of Marx and things like that, and I was just answering question after question. Boom, boom, boom. You know, I'm 21 years old. I'm in the military. Everybody else in the class is a girl, and they're probably 17, 18 years old. But I'm just answering. Boom, 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 and then I'm expanding on it, and I'm talking like I do now. And these girls are like, "How do you know all this?" And I'm like, "How many books
I've lived in the real world, fucker."
And I'm like, "How many books have you read?"
Right.
You see, when I was growing up, we had 3 channels. One of them was PBS.
I remember PBS.
So when I got home from school, I watched a bunch of cooking shows. I watched Jacques Cousteau. I watched Nature. I watched history stuff.
Yep.
That's all I watched. Every now and then, you know, I was raised on Dobie Gillis and Gilligan's Island and the Honeymooners and everything that my parents were raised on.
Zoom, I'm with you, man.
So that's why I'm like, it's not like they forgot how to tell stories.
And Jack, I think you, me, and Boomer were probably right in the same age range. We're probably looking at you said Gen X earlier. Look, I'm not gonna ask you to be too specific, but I was born in 71. I think Age of Boomer is a couple of years younger than I am. I think
I'm
you
74.
are too.
atypical Gen Xer.
Fair enough.
In
Okay,
fact,
just to give the audience kind of a relative sense of where we're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in two worlds. So I was in the world of technology and I mean, when I was in 5th grade, they were teaching us how to code.
Learn to code, yes.
I mean, on big boxes.
Yep.
And then I would go home and feed the pigs and chickens, and
yeah, right.
That weekend we had to slaughter the cow and string her up so we could have meat that winter. I mean, I lived in two different worlds. It was pioneers and the foundation of technology.
Jack, I feel like you grew up with having to deal with the concept of the scholastic, excuse the phrase, but mental masturbators who have this idea of what the way the world ought to be, with another foot in the real world dealing with the way things actually are. Would that be out of place to say that?
Yeah, I mean, like, I never knew what the concept of allowance was. If we were out of school, we got up at 5 a.m. when my dad went and roofed a house.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we ate beans and fried potatoes that night because we had no money.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I grew up the same way. Well, not the same way exactly, but in a similar way you did. And I'm telling you, the way I grew up, that kind of food sounds really good to me.
But there were months where we went without meat, but we always had birthday presents and we always had Christmas.
Yeah.
So I also come from that place where my hero has always been my father first.
Yeah.
And everything, including Superman and Batman and all
there's
these,
a reason that those are typical heroes. Yeah.
In fact, when I pray to God, my Father, I see my Father's face because He raised me.
Yeah.
Right? He is that.
How much does it hurt you when you see a film like Man of Steel and the depiction of Jonathan Kent, just not even knowing how to raise a son, let alone a son like Kal-El?
Right. It was not the same. It was not. He would have been a lot different. He would have been a lot different, a lot harsher, a lot.
Dude, we don't even have to belabor this analogy. You just compare the Donner Superman to the Snyder Man of Steel, right? Yeah. You look at I just think about
even Luke Duke, who played Jonathan Kent in Smallville, did a better
He was great, right?
Yeah.
He knew how to raise a son.
Snyder, I'm forgetting his name. Yeah. John Snyder?
John Snyder, that's it.
Yes, thank you.
I'm thinking of
guys, just real quick, John Snyder just lost his wife recently.
Oh, no.
Pray for him and his family. Cancer, just fuck cancer, just saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jack.
And, also, at the heart of a writer is a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
So, I mean, sometimes I think that I wake up in different universes.
I think I understand you, but go ahead.
So, for example, when I first read The Stand, they had chocolate paydays. And I looked for them. They did not exist. I wrote the company. They told me they did not exist. Stephen King admitted he made up things like kinds of cars and chocolate paydays was one of the things he made up. I went in the store the other day, there was a chocolate payday, and I nearly wet myself.
Yeah.
What did you buy it?
Oh yeah. I didn't like it as much.
I see. There you go.
But
I'm just, look,
Credits
you're
get
right
money back.
with Snyder being the a really good Jonathan Kent in Smallville. I do have to hold up Glenn Ford in the Donner Superman.
well, he's Glenn Ford.
He was somebody who epitomized. Look, there's that line where he's walking with Clark, the younger Clark, and he says he's trying to get across a message to him that he's not wording very well. Because Clark is talking about, look, I have all these powers and I want to be able to do what I'm capable of. Is a bird showing off by flying? And he's like, look, Clark, I know you have all these powers and you just feel like you're going to go bust if you can't share them with people. But you need to understand you have these abilities for a reason, right? I don't know whose reason. I don't know, what the purpose is, but, and he never really, I never really feel like he gets his full message out.
That was the point. That was the way that was cut that way.
Right, before he literally dies of a heart attack, right?
That's where the art comes in.
And what a great message, unfortunately, told through his death. He's telling Clark, he's teaching Clark a lesson that he didn't intend to teach him.
It's also one of those universal truths.
Yes, because Clark even verbalizes it. He says, all these powers that I have, and I couldn't even save him. That reverberates through the film, right? That is an incredible story. Look, all these people that don't know how to tell a Superman story, fuck you people. Look at Donner. Look at what Donner did, okay? All these powers that I have, and I couldn't even save him. It's not a story about a god with powers. It's about a man with powers that doesn't know how to deal with reality because all these powers, and I can't even save him.
Right, and you notice that was the difference between the two deaths, right?
Yup.
Clark is a different character in Snyderverse because he could have saved his father from the tornado.
Yeah.
He could have, and he chose not to. Clark in Donner's could not save his father from a heart attack. So the character, when you change even a little thing, they veer off into different directions. That's sociology. That's the way that psychology is psychopathy.
I'm kind of struggling with what Samael says here. Mother is the name of God on the lips and hearts of children. Our Father, in this case. I went through a period of spiritual enlightenment that caused me to really look at my relationship with my father. Someone once said to me that the struggle that we have with our relationship with God is directly related to our struggle with our relationship with our father. And it's true. My father was a useless piece of shit. And if I use him as my analog for God, I'm going to be lost, right? God did not intend that. But if I look at my mother, who did her best to hold our family together in spite of my father, that is a much better representation.
There was a lesson there you had to learn somehow.
Yeah. And understanding that, I can't help but shake my head at the modern era that has this problem with understanding gender roles and relationships and going, look, you turn your back on God. You turn your back on the role that is held up by religion for the ideal for the family. You got to not be surprised by the fact that you're lost. You are lost. And there is nothing wrong with not being able to live an ideal, but holding an ideal in your heart and saying, this is the goal, right? One man, one woman coming together to create a life in this world and supporting that life to the next generation. We've lost sight of that. We don't understand that. I say we in general. I think the three people in this panel, the people listening to this chat understand.
We as a nation, that's what you're thinking.
Hey, listen.
Right.
People are people, right?
Right.
In my heart, I've done things that I'm not proud of. I've
no, right.
And so, if I meet somebody on the street who is transgender and they're dressed like a woman and they look like a woman, they're pretending to be a woman, I'm not going to insult them. I'm not going to, God gave them free will to choose to do what they wish to do as adults.
Right.
It's not for me to judge them. I'll be kind. That's what
I have said this before. Netter and I have a very dear friend who is transgendered. She presented herself to us as female. Mm-hmm. That's how we were introduced to her. That's how we know her. When we subsequently came to find out her background, doesn't really matter. This is how we perceive you. It is what it is.
But there's a big difference between a transgender lady reading story time to kids and a drag queen.
You're absolutely right, because this same friend of ours is not trying to indoctrinate other people into some kind of ideology. This is who I am, and you are who you are, and I have no role in that.
And here's the problem with language. People don't understand language at all, because drag queens are not transsexuals. That's
an incredibly important point. This is something that I came to understand. I learned it from my mother, who explained to me there is a difference between people who are born male and try to become female, and there are people that are male who dress as a female, who enjoy doing so, that do a show, that
they like the male part,
perform, and then when they're done, they go back to their life as a male.
Usually a gay male, but yes.
Yes, but not necessarily.
Right.
There is, God, I hate to say this, but there is a spectrum of people,
everybody's got issues or non-issues or whatever.
Jesus had this concept of meeting people where they are. The individual, you need to understand the individual, okay? You cannot generalize. When you generalize, you are stereotyping. Okay, when you say all transgendered, when you say all cross-dressers, when you say all people of color, okay, you are doing a disservice to the individual. I think this is where we could find the common ground between people that struggle with these issues and people like Jordan Peterson, who say, look, the more you intersectionalize, eventually you get down to the individual. There is no way that individual is going to see themselves on screen unless they play the role, right?
Also, you got to Jordan Peterson, he comes at psychology, at all of these he specializes in the Bible, right?
Right. He's got a great series about Bible stories. Yeah, absolutely.
It's about story. It's about the dream.
Right.
And that is a concept that when I was a little kid, I came up with a theory. I was in third grade, and I wrote it down for my teacher. And I said, what if, when I look at something and I see it as red, I know it's red, and it's red. But what if Joey, who I don't get along with, looks at that red and sees blue?
Right.
But he calls it red.
It's
and we're
a
just
huge
not compatible.
philosophical concept that's been debated for centuries.
She goes, you need to read Freud. And I was like, who's Freud? And she's like, you'll learn about him when you're an adult.
Let me tell you something, buddy. If you've read Freud, you need to graduate to Jung.
Yeah. Oh, Jung is a necessary thing to read in order to understand good. You got to listen to the
whole
nihilist.
Concept of archetype comes from Jung. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you've got to listen to the nihilist to understand the universal truths, because the nihilist is coming from it.
But
from a different point of view.
Jack, I think you can agree with me. Let's bring this back to Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus put all that stuff aside to focus on the individual.
Exactly.
And meet the individual where they were, yep. Right? And he recognized, look, Jesus was, and look, if you don't believe in the spiritual aspect of Jesus, at least believe in the literary aspect of Jesus. Jesus was the avatar of God on earth, okay? God, through an incredible humility, decided to become human, live a life as a human, and die for our sins, okay? So that's going to be the extent of my proselytization for the moment.
Or if you don't believe in that, you can say it was Horus, because it comes from the same general archetype.
Fair enough. But as a man, Jesus...
I'm a Christian, but I'm just trying to be fair.
Fair enough. But as an avatar of a god, whether it's the god or a god, he had this heart to not only humble himself to become human, but to greet each human he met on their own terms. So when he set a standard for a rich man and said, it is more difficult for a rich man, for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. My command to you is to sell all of your, earnings and, all of your possessions, give it to the poor and follow me.
Right.
That was a standard he set for that individual. That's not something he's necessarily saying to everyone.
Right.
He was addressing someone with a specific struggle, right?
Well, the second covenant was be kind.
Absolutely.
Be kind.
And when he encountered a woman who was a prostitute being stoned by the lawmakers of the Jewish community, he said, there is no one who has sinned. There is no one who has not sinned who can condemn you. And I, although he didn't say it exactly this way, I who am without sin, I do not condemn you either. Therefore, repent and go in peace. He exerted the authority of God to say, I forgive you of your sins. Forgive yourself, repent, and go in peace. That's what he said to a prostitute.
And then, according to some, married her, but...
Right. Yeah. No. I'm going to always defend Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was not the same person. There is no reason to believe she was the same person, and I feel that she has been slighted by history. But
Possibly. You got
let's
to understand the Adam and Eve story is 3 paragraphs.
right, exactly. And so much of people who have not read the Bible do not understand the Bible. They believe what they've been told. Just like I see on social media all the time. You have not bothered to look into it. You believe whatever you're told, and that's it. You believe what you are told about Joe Biden. You believe what you are told about Trump. You believe what you're told about inoculations, and you have not done your own research. And what does God say? God says, be a Berean, right? Because the Bereans were of noble character. They studied the scripture, and then they examined them every day to see if what was preached to them is true. Do your research. Don't just accept things on faith. God never said accept it on faith. He said be a Berean.
Well, what you got to understand is most people are surface level knowledge anyway.
True.
So they don't understand that we're not.
What you're saying is people are lazy.
There are some that don't believe that we're all it doesn't make sense. We're not all descended from Adam. Adam was the first in the line that would produce Jesus. Adam was the first. Eve came after. Didn't say he didn't create other people too. Because Seth did not marry into his own family. He married somebody from without.
Yep.
So this concept that people have is a misunderstanding that we're all descended from Adam and Eve, because we're not.
Right, because when Cain and Abel, the story of Cain and Abel, Cain talks about others.
Yes.
Where do these others come from? He said, if I am cast out, the others will persecute me and kill me. And that's when God said, no, I won't let that happen. I'll put my brand on you, and you will be protected. Well, who are these others? They were not mentioned before. Yeah, there were others. I'm glad you brought that up, Jack. That's a great point. I do want to call out surreality.
Like the woman that got with Cain, right? Wasn't there a woman provided for Cain?
Yeah, where did she come from? And she wasn't his sister, as far as we know. Good point, Aged Boomer. Surreality said Jordan Peterson was wet flannel when it came to vaccines. He has been. We've been warned about false prophet. Women have no rights in. I'm sorry, I'm not following what your concept is here. I'm missing this, but yeah, this thing about Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, pay attention to. Look, he's a human being. He's fallible. There are some things that he is an expert in, and there are some things that he talks about that he probably shouldn't be. Okay, I don't agree with Jordan Peterson on everything. But when it comes to politics and
the storytelling aspect and just being commonly sane,
and look, I think as a Christian, Christ would look at him as someone who is trying his best. He's trying to do these pieces on the Bible. He's trying his best. He may get it wrong. Don't look at him as a prophet. Look at him as a man trying his best. Be a Berean when you watch his videos. Okay?
Well, not just that. You got to understand that he's also a Canadian, and he is a liberal.
That's true. That's true. That's true. People need to remember, for all the vilification he's getting from the far left, he is still a classical liberal.
Yeah,
he is not a conservative. He's not a
considered left in the 90s, just regular.
Yeah, he is not a righty in the truest sense, but he seems righty because the Overton window has shifted.
He's sane. He's sane.
Yeah, right? Absolutely right. Yeah. So, I think we probably need to wrap this up because I've gone past my 2 hours, and I could go. I could go
talk a lot.
all night, but we need to bring it back. So, last question I'm going to ask, or topic I'm going to pose to you, Jack. Besides yourself, and you have no obligation to bring up me and Age of Boomer and Netter. Who are your favorite channels on YouTube that you would recommend people subscribe to, and why?
Well, of course, Nerdrotics.
Okay.
Culture Casino.
Culture Casino. Okay, let me pause you there for a real quick second. Culture Casino, I think the chat probably already knows this, but Culture Casino is a huge favorite of mine because not just his content is great. There's nothing wrong with his content, but as a human being, I consider him a dear friend. He was there when I was struggling. And it was a minor thing. He wasn't like really in there with me, but he was on a stream with Tom Connors and Paulie, Latino Slant. They were doing a karaoke night, and my brother had just passed away.
Oh.
And I said, guys, here's my request. And I dropped a tip in the jar. I said, please, would one of you be willing to sing the song He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother? Just for me. And all three of them said, we don't know the song. And guys, bear with me. I'm trying not to cry here. Culture Casino said, you know what? I'm going to drop out for a second. I want to find this song, and I'm going to sing the song for Troy. And he dropped out of the chat, and he went and he listened to the song, and he goes, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best. And he sang the song for me. And that meant so much to me at that moment that I'm now a member of his channel. I will listen to every stream that I possibly can. Culture Casino he's just good people, guys.
I used to be on a Sunday stream with him every Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
But I had to drop out of that because I wasn't getting any sleep. Because I worked
I hear you on that.
from Thursday night, 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. The next morning, and then I worked Sunday night into Monday.
Guys, if you're not subscribed to those three channels, Midnight's Edge After Dark, Latino Slant, and Culture Casino.
There's so many. I mean, I'm subscribed to almost everybody. I'm subscribed to, Orville Nation.
Orville Nation. What does he always say? We grow together, right? He inspired everything my channel's about.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the first people to ever interview me and got me going along this path. Of course, I started with Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers. And then, I watch Nerdrotics. I watch sometimes that Star Wars girl. I watch Tim Pool.
She's a cutie. I'd love to adopt her as a little sister,
I watch Viva. I watch, especially the Sunday program.
Let me tell you, guys, those of you that are politically minded, Viva Fry, Robert Barnes, I love the way they've crossed over with our fandom, but they are the stuff. Make sure you're following them on Locals. Viva Barnes at locals.com. Make sure you're subscribed to them.
It also, I don't know, maybe it's just me because I'm a writer. I like knowing things. But to see how my misconceptions about how law works and how law actually works.
Yeah. I've
really
been told by my buddy who is an attorney that I miss my calling by not going into law because I'm so interested in how the law works. I probably know more as a non-lawyer about the law than most do. So, yeah.
Well, so I'm gonna try and put out, like I said, I've got 2 that I've got to record and get out. But I'm gonna try and get to the point where I can do a story every Monday, and then a live stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
I dig that.
It's a
Real
story
quick,
stream.
Tim Hayes is saying Retro Blasting introduced me to Midnight's Edge and Clobby, that's Clobbering Times. Then Clobby and Midnight's Edge After Dark introduced me to Pauly, Latino Slant, Loki, and Culture Casino. Guys, Tim just hit on all of my most favorite YouTube channels. Please,
I was watching.
I would suggest subscribing to them if for no other reason than like 90% of my content and inspiration comes from those channels. So
I thought mine was your favorite channel.
well, yours is truly my favorite channel, but you know, yeah. I'm sorry, Jack. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I mean, I forgot what I was saying, but
That's okay.
you know, the information you have to, in order to tell the truth, you need things to sound real, to be real.
Right.
So like, I have to go and research what fusion is so I can understand how my imaginary warp core might work.
Right.
Or what's the concept in string theory to where we can fold space? What's relativity mean? Because I have a story where it's set in the future and they fold space instead of having a drive. They just fold space and they're in one place and then they're in another's place. There's no lag time, and it's central to the story. So I had to understand some of that stuff. So we're truly, there's probably a million of me, because
I see what you're saying.
there's just people that like to tell stories. I just write them down.
And honestly, that's what I gravitate to, Jack. That's why I wanted you on my channel tonight. This is why I had, so many other channels that I've featured. I mean, I think about TJ Manrique, who's got a book out, Another Boring Day in Space, but he's got a bunch of other books. He, was a guest on my channel. Absolutely, somebody I recommend. I recommend authors that I see in not only the YouTube space, but that are self-published or whatever, because they're putting out their stories without the I'm going to say corruption of publishing companies and other entities that are infringing on the stories they want to tell, right?
And really, the most important thing for independence is for you to be honest about their work. Hey, if there's something that doesn't make sense to you, let them know, because they didn't see it. If there's something because nobody's going to get better unless you have that objective feedback. I really like this, but this confused me maybe. Or why would you do it this way? I was expecting this, or something like. Now, we're not always going to take that advice, because we may be doing something that answers that later on, but it will certainly correct some things that we're not seeing.
Right. Absolutely. So, like I said, TJ Manrique, the Vagrancy Horror, the Late Night Horror Show, and by all means, StoryMan Jack. I'm talking about these channels that are putting out, in the case of Late Night Horror, stuff that's in the public domain that you might not know about. Vagrancy Horror, StoryMan Jack, and so forth. Original stories that communicate something that is timeless. I'm hoping, I have my fingers crossed, and I'm working on it. Netta and I are both working on this. A friend of mine who has written a vampire series and self-published that I would very much like to have on my channel and share with all of you.
Watch.
Yeah, that would be.
And that's what I tell people. I said, look, I spent a lot of money on my college. Actually, the Air Force spent a lot of money on my college.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of money on books on how to do this and how to do that to write. And it's not that hard. You just sit down and you tell a story. People have been telling stories for 15, 20,000 years. The reason that there's only 3 paragraphs in the Adams and Eve story is because it was probably oral tradition for 5,000 years.
Yep.
Interestingly, you make a great point. The people that were telling those stories and originally hearing those stories pretty much already knew them. They just needed a synopsis. That's all we have, but they probably knew a great deal more. And this is why you need to look at these stories with a critical eye. When you look at things like the Apocrypha and all this kind of stuff, they're worth looking at. They may not be scripture, but they let you know where the hearts and minds of the people telling the stories and hearing the stories were at the time. This is why I would argue that fan fiction is not something to be completely ignored. It's something to be considered and looked at.
Where do you think the future writers are going to... So the way it used to work is that you wrote stories, you were taught how to write stories, and you submitted stories to magazines. You built up a portfolio of published items, and this is how much you made, or this is how many copies they paid you, because they pay you in your own copies of magazines you could give out to people with your story in it. Sometimes you might got paid $300. Sometimes you might got paid $1,500. Sometimes you might got paid 50 copies. Magazines didn't exist anymore. There's no place to submit things to get them published. So there's no proving ground except for fan fiction. And that's another reason a lot of people are self-publishing, because anymore you can't earn the credit through your portfolio to get published and get a agent. You have to know somebody.
Right.
Connie,
I just made you a mod on my channel too. You don't have to feel obligated to do anything, but you're here all the time, and I super appreciate you. And I just wanted to, I wanted to give you the wrench. So there you go.
Well, it has been a pleasure, and I don't know about you guys, but I've been up since 4:30.
Yeah, and I know I've already kept Aged Boomer almost a half hour past where he was expecting to be.
But
so let me.
This is where you ask your guest, does he have anything coming up that he wants to let us know about?
Exactly. This is the wrap up. So, Jack, is there anything that you want to... I mean, aside from your channel, which everyone in the chat should already be subscribed to, it's down below. But other than that, is there anything you got coming up? Any physical publications you've got coming up, or anything you want to plug?
I'm on getting together. I need coming up with $3,000. I got to have before I can even get to Indiegogo.
Sure.
To get the final line edit done and some artwork. And I know I've had a bunch of people on Twitter contact me to do art for me. Unfortunately, I'm just not going to be able to do it because nobody has terms and conditions and paperwork to sign. And I've already went down that route and lost almost
You just got
$1,000.
yourself a blue wrench too, Lady Mist, so I'm putting you to work too.
So I'm going to hire professional artists and get a cover and get some character art so I can have bookmarks and things like that. This novel is ready for the line edit. I've been working on it for 30 years.
Poof.
I set it aside 20 years ago because my first wife told me it was junk. And
that probably is a good indicator that it's probably going to be successful.
So I got rid of it. And I quit writing for a long time. Well, when I started writing again, I found it on an old hard drive. Oh. And I thought, this is pretty good. So it is high fantasy. It's Tolkien-esque.
I think every writer has run into that situation. You write something, you walk away from it, you read it again, and it's almost like it was someone else writing it. And you go, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not stealing from anyone because it's my own work. Let's do this.
Yeah. So that'll be. I'm hoping to have that done by December. Our financial problems are just about over because my wife had lost her job 3 months before I lost mine.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough that my dad owns a business, so I just went to work for him.
Yeah.
Let him pay me whatever, treating it like a job and not a family business, so there's no issues. I'm the low man on the totem pole. My baby brother gives me orders, so I just work. And then she just got a new job, so we should be back. And my channel, because of all the things I do, because it's a production.
Yeah.
I do voices. I record it. I put background music in. I'm starting to put a little bit of sound effects, and then I have a moving background on them now.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I have to use tools that cost me money. So my channel runs at like a $150 a month deficit.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you get to the point where you want to do something like a crowdfund to publish a book or something like that.
That would be very shortly. As soon as I get the line edit back and I've got some art, I've got stacks of they look like handmade journals. You've seen them on Amazon, those leather bound.
Sure.
Piece of paper. Well, there's it's an item in the novel that it's like a preacher's manual, and I'll have the prophecy that starts the whole story off in that signed. That'll come with it, but that'll be a perk or a tier or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I've been working on it for 30 years, there's a lot of back things that I can fill in and make it more of a whole world and more because there's actually 6 novels in this. So
yeah, Lady Mist, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Are you interested in joining me on a stream sometime? I would love to have a chat with you and talk with you. We've hung out in chats all over the place, and if you'd like to talk about what you're doing and and the channels that you follow, I'd love to have you on. Don't feel obligated, but shoot me a DM if you'd be interested. And I really, really want to thank Deleted Scenes, who's just dropping all the links. And guys, please, you can honor Deleted Scenes by hitting all those links with a right click and subscribing to everybody, because we're trying to build a community here, and Deleted Scenes is working so hard. He's breaking a sweat here by dropping all these links. So please, please do that thing. And so yeah, I'm going to ask everybody, please be subscribed to Storyman Jack. Check out his content. A lot of his stories are just standalone, so you could just jump into one of his shares and enjoy.
I've got stories that are 5 minutes long, all the way up to an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah, enjoy an hour-long story while you're working or whatever. Hit the like button, but make sure you're subscribed to him so that when he starts doing something like a crowdfund for a physical publication, you can be in on the ground floor of that. Tomorrow night over on Netter's Network. Netter, what are we going to be doing tomorrow night on your channel, Netter?
We're going to be watching a movie.
Yep. The movie is Vincent D'Onofrio in a Jennifer Lynch film, Chained. And honestly, I still haven't found a quote from it that I want to put into your opening, but we got to come up with something, because that's going to be an interesting one. Jennifer Lynch is not her father. She is not David Lynch, but she is something unto herself, and she is an incredible director. And Netter has met her personally and gotten to know her and respect her, and we'll talk more about her tomorrow night on Netter's Network, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. That's Netters Network. Link in the description below. AJ Boomer, what are we doing on Sunday?
Oh, well, we have several news stories on Geeky Geezers. For instance, the return of the Toxic Crusaders.
Yeah, that shocked me.
Yeah,
that was out of left field.
A new video game. You remember the Toxic Crusaders? But we got other stuff, too. So Willow will not be returning for season 2. That's another big news story.
Thank goodness. I think we're seeing a lot of this bullshit, cultural vandalism kind of falling by the wayside. That's actually
It has
good.
to go bankrupt for Hollywood to learn its lesson. Then I say, rest in peace.
Frickin' man. I'm with you, Jack. Thanks. What else we got, Boomer?
Nothing. Just
Help me out with Monday and Wednesday. Is
Monday? I don't know if Birdman's having a Batman stream. Check it out. I know we're doing a. He had to postpone because he got a high paying job on. They were going to do the thing, so we postponed. We're going to do on Wednesday. We're going to be doing the rewatch.
I love this. I give Lady Mist a blue wrench, and she's dropping the link for Deleted Scenes. You guys are friggin' awesome. I love you guys. I really, really do.
Yeah, but we're going to be doing a rewatch of Black Sunday this coming Wednesday. On Tuesday, though, you and I will be on
Yes, we will.
Mr. Matchstick's channel to discuss the 3 Batman Superman team-up movies.
I've watched them. I might have to refresh my memory this weekend, but honestly, DC has done Warner Brothers DC has done a great job with their most of their animated features. Not so much with their Snyderverse, but we'll see what they do with their live action going forward. That's going to be a whole different era. But that's
that was I think around 2009 or 2010 when those movies came out. The first two, the Super Sons one is more recent. But
I feel like those animated features, and I don't think I've mentioned this on Mr. Mashik's channel before, but I feel like their strength has been they just put on screen what was in the comics.
Yeah. Those ones in particular, the made-for-video movies, they were really trying to adapt certain comic book runs into a film.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, if you are a linguist, a polyglot who speaks more than one language, and you are hired to translate, you have an obligation to not only translate, literally, but when you can't translate literally, transliterate. Get across the spirit of what is being said. You have a responsibility to the person who is speaking to communicate the spirit of what he's saying, not just the words. But it's funny you bring this up, Evelyn, because Justice Society. Did we already talk about that one on Mr. Magic's channel?
Which
Boomer?
one?
Justice Society? World War II?
No, we haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, we're planning to, though. I know I've watched it because it was an assignment for me to talk about, so we'll get to that. That's some good stuff. And again, links in the description. I have a MeWe group where I reimagine the DC universe in an alternate universe where Warner Brothers got their heads out of their asses and created a shared universe before Marvel did, based off of the cornerstone of Smallville. We'll talk more about that.
They let their peas and their carrots touch.
Yes, they weren't OCD, and they didn't have this problem of not allowing their peas and carrots to touch. We talk more about that there. So that's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday, we have something new on Thursday nights. What is that? Netter of Netters Network.
That's exactly what it is. Netter of Netters Network.
Tell us about it Thursday. What are we doing?
Well, it's temporarily call until I come up with something better. Thursday Things. I'm actually starting to warm up to that name, but it's basically everyone getting together on Thursdays and just talking about whatever, kind of like what Troy does, only without alcohol.
Yeah, Netter doesn't drink. She had a father and a brother who were alcoholics, so she steers clear of the booze, and she tolerates me once a week indulging. But yeah, definitely. And if you have a channel on YouTube and you would like to promote it, reach out to Netter. She might be willing to have you on as a guest and promote your channel.
Oh, absolutely. I am looking for guests, especially since my channel is so new. I have nobody lined up. So if you are interested and are available on a Thursday, that's 9 p.m. Central, 10 Eastern, I would love to have you.
And if you're just the sort that wants to hang out in the chat, by all means, let Netter know what you'd be interested in hearing about, so she knows how to look. Take control of Netter's channel. It is your channel. You control the content because you are the customer, you are the client, you are the audience. So let her know. That will be Thursdays going forward. Which brings us to next Friday, which is me, and I don't remember what I'm doing next week. Next week, I think I am doing. Next week, I'm doing a collaboration with Big Al of Big Al Presents. I'm going to be streaming a watch party of. Wow. One of my favorite 80s films, Eddie and the Cruisers.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at a film with an incredible soundtrack. As always, when I do a rewatch or a watch party or whatever you want to call it, I will be hosting the movie off platform on Cosme, so that you can watch along with us. I will have the link in the top, pinned to the top of the chat, so you can watch along with us if you don't have your own copy. But Eddie and the Cruisers, I highly recommend you get your own copy of Eddie and the Cruisers. You will thank me later. And make sure you get all 3 soundtracks. All 3. Eddie and the Cruisers, Eddie and the Cruisers 2, Eddie Lives, and the Lost Tapes. Most people that are fans of those films don't know about the Lost Tapes.
No.
Check that out. We will talk more about that next Friday. Which brings us around to next Saturday, which is... it's obvious. So next Saturday is the follow-up, because I'm collaborating with Big Al of Big Al Presents. Make sure you're subscribed. We will see Eddie and the Cruisers 2 on his channel, and again, I'll be hosting it off platform with Cosme. Link will be provided. Come watch the film with us and talk with us about it and enjoy the incredible soundtrack. And that's the weekend review. Any last words? You know what, Jack? Last thoughts, last words that you want to share with the chat.
Your life is your story. Make it a great one.
Wow, that's simple and succinct, and some great words of wisdom. Boomer, any last words?
Nothing. Thank you for having me, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having you. For crying out loud, you're here to work. You're here to make sure that I close this stream.
I want to thank StoryMan Jack
because I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore. I'm drunk. Netter, last words. You are the one to bring us home.
I'm the closer.
You're the closer.
Which is why I care about your microphone so people could actually hear me.
Absolutely.
Well, I always say that we can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well good and fun. But it's so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat, you're dropping your comments, your questions, your trivia, just being goofy, whatever it may be. And we don't think of you as friends. We think of you as family. And we think of you guys as just all of us sitting in a room together, enjoying each other's company and having fun. Not like we're separated by miles or even continents. We really do appreciate you being with us each and every week. Each and every show, because some of us have multiples,
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us. We really do love you guys.
I really feel like our community makes this platform the best of what it is, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of downsides to social media and this platform in particular, but we use it in a way to really connect with people we can't otherwise physically. I mean, Jack's in Texas, I'm in Chicago, Age of Boomers in Florida.
Yeah.
But gosh, it's like we can be in the same room once a week. And honestly, that makes you guys closer to me than my actual physical family. Who doesn't follow my channel, who never calls me and lives in another state, so
Another
you know,
feeling.
so when Netter says you guys are like family more than just, friends and associates, it's kind of really true. They say that friends are the family you choose for yourself. And that's kind of how I feel about y'all. And I super, super appreciate it. Guys, there's a reason I have all the links below to all the people that make this channel happen. Please, please, if you enjoyed yourself tonight, please subscribe to everyone that's listed below. All of you that were in the chat, the wrenches have taken the time to drop the links. Please subscribe to each other. This is a community because you guys make it a community. I thank you for that, but please enjoy the fruits of that, everyone. Thank you so much. I would not be doing this if it weren't for you guys. You guys really, truly do make this happen. I appreciate you all, and I hope to see you on the next stream. Take care, everyone.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.